everybody has something in their hand. Listen to the directions very carefully. When you hear the word left, please pass your object left. When you hear the word right, pass your object right. So I'm going to read a little story to you about the Wright family. One day, the Wright family decided to take a vacation. The first thing they had to decide was who would be left at home, since there was not enough room in the Wright family car for all of them. Mr. Wright decided that Aunt Linda Wright would be the one left at home. Of course, this made Aunt Linda Wright so mad she left the house immediately yelling, "It'll be a right cold day before I return to you." The Wright family now bundled up the children, Tommy Wright, Susan Wright, Timmy Wright, and Shelley Wright, and got in the car and left. Unfortunately, as they turned out of the driveway, someone had left a trash can in the street, so they had to turn right around and stop the car. They told Tommy Wright to get out of the car and move the trash can so they could get going. But Tommy took so long that they almost left him in the street. Once the Wright family got to the road, Mother Wright wondered if she had left the stove on. Father Wright told her not to worry. He had checked the stove and she had not left it on. As they turned right at the corner, everyone started to think about other things they might have left undone. No need to worry now. They were off on a right fine vacation. When they arrived at the gas station, Father Wright put gas in the car and then discovered he'd left his wallet at home. So Timmy Wright ran home to get the money that was left behind. After Timmy had left, Susan Wright started to feel sick. She left the car saying she had to throw up. This, of course, got Mother Wright's attention, and she left the car in a hurry. Shelley Wright wanted to watch Susan get sick, so she left the car too. Father Wright was left with Tommy Wright, who was playing a game in the back seat. With all of this going on, Father Wright decided it was not the right time to take a vacation, so he gathered up the family and left the gas station as quickly as he could. When he arrived home, he turned left to the driveway and said, "I wish the Wright family had never left the house today." All right, great job. You guys did really well with that. Who ended up with more than one object? Just one of you.
I started with it.
You started?
But I didn't use this one.
Oh, okay. Good job. I'm not sure how that happened either. That's really good too. Okay, great warm-up activity in terms of getting kids to laugh, getting them to move, getting them to follow directions. We all know how hard it is for 7th graders in particular to follow directions. If you really want to do this and the kids really like it, you keep getting faster and faster and faster. So, good way to bring them in. I'm Joan Packrow, and I've been working with team building and kids for a long time. So I have hundreds of these kinds of activities, and I love to play. So it really fits well with my personality. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do before we even start on the PowerPoint is to move your chairs and line up in a row right down the middle of the room according to your birthday, but you cannot speak while you're doing this activity. January starts down here. January month and day. Move chairs out of the way. Okay, we think we got it right. Start. Yes, you can talk now. Birthday, January 5th.
March 10th.
March 13th.
May 12th.
May 18th.
May 19th. May 26th.
July 27th.
August 21st.
October 2nd.
May 20. October 23rd.
October 29th. November 8th. December 4th.
Great, you guys are superstars. Now, do you think 7th grade kids can do this activity as well as you did the first time you did it? Probably not.
We did it with ideas, and they're like, this is impossible. They literally said that. But then they figured it out, and they did it right.
They do figure it out, but it takes some time. And sometimes you have to start over because somebody will talk. And then you have to start over. So that's also a great warm-up activity when you're getting them in the room. It's also a great way to lead into the next activity. I want you to count off by 1 and 2.
1, 2, 1, 1, 2,
1,
2,
1.
2.
Okay, 2's form a circle, 1's form a circle. It's going to be hard in this room, but 2's.
Oh, man.
You guys think I'm going to have you hula hoop, don't you? Yes, I am.
Is there a rule about not writing?
No, you can write. Oh, you know what? You cheated. I didn't. You got me. See, you would be that 7th grader that I would love immediately because I would say, you got something going. Okay, you're going to make a circle. This is a team building activity. Now, contrary to what some people believe about team building, I do believe in competition because kids love competition. I don't believe in hurting one another, which sometimes they get really wild with musical chairs and things like that. But this competition is how are you going to pass these hula hoops, both of them starting here on one person's shoulders, around and back to her, and who can do that the quickest? Which team can do that the quickest? Oh, they're already strategizing here. Okay, do you need a minute to think or are you ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, our regulations. We may pass it on the shoulder.
Just
You're going to pass it to her.
Oh, shoulder.
thank you.
Can we use our arms?
You can
That's what I think we
pass
have to
with your hands. You have to be linked, yes.
do. Oh, are you holding it?
So you can't just
Oh, no.
take your hand off the thing and
Oh,
pass
that's
it to your kid. No, that would be very easy.
Okay.
That'd be very easy. That's never all the directions. They have to get back to her. And you cannot break hands. If you break hands, you got to start over. Okay?
Don't you dare.
Okay.
I'm a teenager. Don't you dare.
Ready, set, go.
Josh, Abby. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Hurry up. Yeah, that's perfect. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You got it, you got it, you got it. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
There you got it. You get
See, he's done this before. He knew that was going to happen, right? Is that it? It's the left brain. Oh, okay, we got this trick over here. Fun. Kids love to do this. Kids love this game. Okay, we're going to do one more activity before you can sit down. Again, go ahead and line up back the way you were by your birthday. And this time, I want you to turn around and face me this way. Make your line this way. Come toward the middle. Now, I'm going to read some sets of sentences, 2 at a time. Before you move, either left or right, I want you to listen to both sentences and then choose. If you agree with the first one I read, I want you to take a step to the left. If you agree with the second one I read, I want you to take a step to the right.
That would be our left and right? Or
Your left and right. Okay. First 2. I remember names best. I remember faces best. Okay, next two. You may have to take smaller steps. This room is not conducive. Okay, first one. I prefer to have things explained to me with words. I prefer to have things explained by showing them to me. Now, if you don't think one is more than the other, you can stay where you are. Next one. I prefer classes with one assignment at a time. I prefer classes where I work on many things at once. I prefer multiple choice tests. I prefer essay tests. Taking. I am not good at thinking of funny things to say and do. I am good at thinking of funny things to say and do. I decide what I think about things by looking at the facts. I decide what I think about things, but based on my experiences. Okay, that is a very short version of a right brain, left brain exercise. And if we're talking to kids about learning style, which we will be doing when we talk about Naviance, we'll find out who in the class is left brain and right brain. So if you ended up moving further to the left, you're a very rational thinker. If you ended up moving further to the right, you're more creative, less logical. And we all know there are lots of different implications in terms of how to study, how to take tests, that sort of thing. And all of that information is stuff that will come to you in your advisory manual when we get it all put together. But thank you very much. Have a seat, and we will move forward. So those are just some warm-ups and things you can do to start building community in the classroom. I'm going to move this little starfish. Thank you. Thank you for my little fish and my markers. I don't care if you keep the markers, but the fish on my back. Yesterday, I talked about some of my favorite quotes, and I have another one for you today. Have any of you read any of the work from Jonathan Kozol? Okay, he is one of, I think he's a remarkable man who writes about the inequities in the education system in this country. And he talks about teachers being specialists in opening small packages. You don't give the string a big tug, but you pull it carefully because you don't know yet what's inside the package. You don't know if what's in that box is breakable. And that's how he looks at the kids who come to us every day. And I have tried to look at the kids who come every day in that way too, because I don't know what they've had to get through to get to school that morning. I don't know what happened at their homes last night. I don't know if they had food to eat. I don't know if they had electricity or water, or if they got up at 4:30 in the morning like the young man we read about in the paper a few weeks ago to get 3 siblings off to school and get himself to school. And the list goes on and on and on. We all have those kids in our classrooms, and we know that. And we also know that they can be pretty prickly when they come in because of some of the experiences they've had. And because many of these kids have symptoms of post-traumatic stress. How many of you read the article 14 in Cincinnati that was in the paper? I was particularly struck by the story of the young man and the bike. The young man lives in an area where he has to walk through a lot of violence just to get to his home from the bus stop. He's witnessed lots of violence, but that young man had a plan for everything. He knew what to do if whatever happened. He had thought through it, and he knew what he was going to do and how he was going to react. And that is a typical symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder. So I am not saying that all of our kids come to us like that, but many of them do. And even the idea of being 14, 13, 12, 11, and going through the transition from childhood to adolescence can be very traumatic as well. So kids by nature are prickly, and they're more prickly based on what kind of experiences they have. So we look at them as fragile and try to open them with care. And building a community in the classroom is one way that I have always tried to open those packages carefully and slowly and build that community. So a community is essentially a group of people who work with one another to build a sense of trust, caring, and support. How many of you have done something like advisory or community building? Okay, most of you have. What's your experience with getting kids to the point where they can trust one another to be a little bit more open about themselves?
It takes time and you can't give up.
Takes time and you can't give up. Absolutely. You'll have kids who come into your classroom. It can be 118 degrees outside. They will have that hooded sweatshirt on over their head, zipped all the way up.
Stay.
I'm sorry.
Stay because they got to have the sweatshirt.
They do, but they're masking their identity. They're masking who they are. They're not comfortable enough to share with anyone who they really are. And we see that over and over and over again. Over and over again. We also know that building community and having a sense of trust is directly correlated to the strength of academics and the strength of community in the classroom. So how do you do that? Well, in your classroom, but especially in advisory, of course you have to give relevance to what you're doing. There has to be some relevance to kids. You can't give them an activity that they have no ability to relate to. They also have to have a sense of ownership. How many of you allow kids to set classroom rules? With you, of course. You do. Okay? I always advise people to do that, especially in an advisory group. Looking at the code of conduct and setting the classroom rules, you want the kids to feel the classroom belongs to everybody, that they all have a part in that. And what some people get really put off when I talk about allowing the kids to help you set classroom rules. Believe me, after doing this as long as I've done it, I've never had a group of kids who haven't been harder on themselves than I would be on them. They come up with some of the most ridiculous, strict limitations that you could possibly imagine. So, of course, you're leading this activity. You're asking them to brainstorm what they want their classroom to feel like, what they want it to look like, what they want it to be like, how they what would make them feel comfortable in a classroom. So you're asking them just to suggest, and you're writing down all these crazy suggestions. And as a teacher, you're going to clump them together. These all go together, these all go together, these all go together. You are also going to interject. If they have not said anything about kindness and respect to one another, you're going to say, and what about this? And you're going to write that down, and they're going to say, oh yeah, that's good. No put downs, only put ups, or whatever. And I recommend that you settle on 3 or 4 classroom rules that kind of combine all of those ideas and incorporate what you want your classroom to run like. You also have to be mindful of school rules, so it has to be in compliance. If every member on your team is saying, kids can't wear any kind of jackets in my room, and you're the only one who's saying, I don't care, it really is going to cause a problem for your team. So you've got to work those things out ahead of time with your team. Establish what the team rules are, establish what the school rules are, and then you put your classroom rules together, being respectful of the team and the procedures of the school. I suggest once kids start to feel comfortable with one another, you can start having community meetings to discuss just about anything. And usually kids will request a community meeting if there's an issue going on that they think needs to be discussed. students have to agree to keep confidentiality. And I would not recommend having a community meeting about anything personal for quite some time. But you can have community meetings if there's something that comes up and they want to change a rule. The community meeting could handle that. Or if you've been given an opportunity to go on a field trip or whatever, and you want to discuss what the format would be like, that might be a time to have a community meeting. So really any time. And you're just in the circle, people talk one at a time, they're respectful of the other person's opinion, and you move forward like that. And I tell kids you have to use I comments. You cannot talk about you did such and such. It's I feel this when this happens. So have a little lesson about I statements, which again is one of the lessons that'll be in your advisory group. So the basics again, everybody needs to feel part of the group. You want everybody to participate as much as they can. Okay? I'm telling you, not every kid is going to feel comfortable with people touching them or with moving around or with taking that hood off right away. And it is a process to get those kids who are more withdrawn to feel comfortable participating. So you certainly don't want to use any highly charged activities right away. Those might come later on. You use something very light and fun, like what we did at the beginning, until kids start to feel more comfortable with one another, feel that they can trust you and they can trust other kids in the group. And they always have the right to pass. Always. You can be with the same group for 3 years, and if the kid has always participated and one day they decide they're not going to, there's probably a really good reason, and they have the right to pass and say, I'm just sitting this one out. Okay? So why use the icebreakers? Well, it's fun, it's positive. Kids are learning different ways to communicate. They're making group decisions. They're solving problems. You're testing leadership skills. They get to work with people they wouldn't possibly work with any other time. It's also a good way to release tension, to get them more energized. Sometimes they come to us and they've had a hard day or a hard night before and they're not ready to start. And they need a way to wake up, to get going, to start feeling like they can participate in a full way, not only in their advisory, but certainly moving forward to their classes, their work. So icebreakers just are a way to help new students, help shy students, co-mingle with other students who don't know each other yet. So you use a lot of icebreakers at the very beginning of the year. Again, as the teacher, you get to know your students and their strengths, their weaknesses. You can see who is a good mingler, who's a good, I always say the pickies and the pickers. If you ask kids to pick a partner, there are some kids who will immediately pick somebody. There are others who's going to hang back on the wall. Those are the pickers. So that tells you a lot about the personality of the kids in your room as well. So one of the things that I like to do with kids when I've done this activity or this lesson or a series of lessons about right brain and left brain and different learning styles and on and on and on, and I've talked to them about how they can use that to their advantage in the classroom as they study, and we've done a lot of preparation, I might say to them, you know, there's some things we can do first thing in the morning when we come here to help us get both sides of our brain working together. So we call it Brain Gym. And there are actually 26 activities, and we're just going to do a few of them today. It's based on the work of Paul and Gail Dennison, and they came to this decision by working with kids who had dyslexia and learning disabilities. And they sort of stumbled onto ways to get both sides of the brain to work together through a series of movements. So that's what brain gyms are. You can do them anywhere, really. Kids can do them anywhere. Most of them can be done sitting at their table. So we're going to just do a few of them. So yesterday, or day before yesterday, when you had your Energizer with yoga, she talked about deep breathing. We're going to talk about deep breathing also, but we're going to talk about belly breathing. And this is a little different. It's almost opposite of what you did. You were breathing in through your chest cavity first. We're going to breathe in through our bellies. So put one hand on your belly. And then just push the breath out. And as you inhale, bring it in through the belly and all the way up through the chest and exhale. So this is a way to help kids relax if they've got a lot going on, if it's been a flight or fight situation getting to school or getting up in the morning. It really is a way to help them calm down. And it's also going to make them feel more alert. So I usually have them do 3 or 4 belly breaths. And again, I'm talking to them about we're getting both sides of your brain together. We're getting you ready for the rest of the day so you can learn at your optimal level. The next one is called a brain button. And this stimulates the artery, carotid artery, to carry fresh blood to the brain. So again, getting them alert, getting them awake. And it's also a way to get the messages from different parts of your body working together again. It seems to work well to improve reading and writing, following directions. So the first thing you do again is put one hand over your navel area, stomach area, and then you're going to find with your fingers and your thumb the deep cavities here where your collarbone comes down. Okay. You're going to rub this for about 60 seconds as you turn your head right to left. Okay? Easy to do. And kids really believe all this, okay? A lot of people don't buy into brain gyms, and honestly, I can't say that it does or it doesn't work, but sometimes the power of suggestion works for kids. And I do know that the deep breathing certainly works to help kids calm down, and it gives them a sense of being more in control. It absolutely does that. Scientifically, I can't tell you what's going on, but emotionally it helps. Now we're going to do lazy 8s. So we're going to put one arm out, thumb up, and you're just slowly going to do an 8, but you're going to follow that with your eyes. Then you're going to move it to the right. Keep following with your eyes. Back toward the middle. Then to your left. Following it with your eyes. And then you can have them change arms. Do it with the other arm. This is helping balance and coordination, helping control visual fields, coordinate visual fields. And the last brain gym we're going to do is positive points. So again, this is one to help ease tension, and it helps kids with the ability to cope with stress. So you're finding these indentions here. You're placing 3 fingers of each hand about midway between your brow line and your eyebrow. You'll see there's a little indent. Close your eyes and hold these points. And then slowly pull your forehead taut. And take about 10 breaths while you hold that. Okay. So there are, like I said, 26 of these. If you're interested in learning more about them, I'm certainly happy to provide you with directions for all of them and how they help in the classroom or help kids individually. So we are not going to spend a whole lot more time on that. We're going to talk more about the team building activities, and there are tons and tons of team building activities, as you know. Lots of deep activities that once your kids start trusting one another can be extremely fulfilling when they start working on these things together. For instance, a new planet, and we will not do this one today, but new planet is an activity where the Earth has been or is going to be destroyed. You have a spaceship that's going to take 30 people to a new planet, and you have to decide which of those people get to go as a team. So it'll be somebody like a medical doctor, somebody like a minister or a priest. It'll be somebody who's a teacher, maybe a historian, probably a drug addict. Could be a 16-year-old female. It could be a variety of different things. So the kids have some time to really spend on this, and you'll find that they really have some philosophical discussions about how would you start a new society, how would you start over, and who should you take with you if you were starting a whole new world. So there are many of those kinds of activities. Activities like if you were going to be stranded on an island and you could only take 3 things with you, what would you take? So again, just hundreds and hundreds of those activities. One of the things that kids love is game playing. They love to play games. So we're going to stand up again, push your chairs back, and play a couple of games that kids absolutely get crazy for. So the first one we're going to do is, we did the hula hoop relay. We're going to do elephant, palm tree, and giraffe. Has anybody ever done this one? Okay. You're going to be asked to move your body in a way that represents either an elephant, a palm tree, or a giraffe. So if I say elephant, this is an elephant, okay? Your trunk. If I say palm tree, you're either this way or this way as a palm tree. And as a giraffe, you're going to be spots. So you work in teams of 3, and you don't know which other people you're going to be with until the person in the middle points at someone. So Marcia, if I point at you, you are the elephant, you are the palm tree, you are the giraffe.
So it's the person in the middle.
Person in the middle is the elephant, you're the giraffe, you're the palm tree. Now, if I pointed to Lori, your palm tree, you would be the giraffe.
Spots.
So you would come over here with her, you would be the palm tree. Your spots are on her.
Spots are on the elephant.
You're supposed to be confused. I don't know. It's just the way the game was told to me, and I play it that way because it's fun for kids. Okay? All right. I don't know. There's no logical reason for any of these things.
No, I'm that person in that group where just tell me who I am.
Well, it's a game of elimination.
So do we all go, so then I would be the draft?
If the person in the middle points to you as the middle, you're the elephant.
But it's not a whole group.
No,
So
it's
only
just
just
the 3, the one on either side of the person in the middle. So the person, how do you get out?
I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, she'll be the first one out. Okay. So, okay, elephant. There you go.
Okay, well maybe not.
Elephant. Okay, she did it. Elephant. All right. Now, what you can do as the person in the middle is you start doing it faster and faster and faster, and they only have like 2 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever you determine to respond. So if they don't respond in that amount of time, they're out of here. The one who doesn't get it right of the
But you
three.
always call elephant first.
Always elephant first. Okay? Elephant. Okay, elephant. Okay, see, I would probably be mean and put her out, which I'll do. Elephant.
Oh, no.
Very good. Elephant. See, she's out of there. She's gone. Elephant.
I knew it. My time was coming.
Okay, so you're out. You're too slow. Elephant. Very good. Elephant. Oh, you're out, Amy. So it goes on until you have a winner. And kids do love to play this game. They think it's wonderful. They think it's fun. And it is fun. It is a lot of fun. And it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, you can make up your own rules to go with it. But the point is, you've got 3 different people doing 3 different things, and you're moving around very fast, and kids are following directions, they're listening, and they're learning to work together as a team. Okay, the other game they love, and you can have a seat, and these are not the best chairs for this game. They're terrible chairs for this game. But it's one of the favorite games. I've done this for many years, and this is the game that I would say overall kids love the most. It's Do You Love Your Neighbor? Have any of you ever played Do You Love Your Neighbor? Okay. All right, you got one person in the middle. You have exactly enough chairs for the people who are sitting. The person in the middle does not have a place to sit. So the idea of this game is the person in the middle wants to get a chair, and somebody else wants not to have one. You want to get somebody's chair, so they're up here, and they're it. So I might look at Amy and say, Amy, do you love your neighbors? And you would look at them and you would say, yes, I love my neighbors. And if you said, yes, I love my neighbors, the 3 of you do not have to move. But everybody else has to move opposite side of the room, okay? So the person in the middle and the rest of you are trying to get a seat. But you can't just move to the seat next to you. You got to move to a seat across the room, okay?
Try to sit down.
Well, and the wheels are, you never do this with wheelchairs, okay? Never do this with chairs with wheels on them. It's hard enough to do it with regular chairs, because I'm telling you, kids are scooting and screaming and carrying on, and they're having a great time. Now, if Amy said, no, I do not love my neighbors, I would say, well, who do you love? And she might say, I love people who are wearing glasses. So people wearing glasses would not have to move, but everybody else would. Okay?
Thank you.
And again, the person in the middle is trying to get to a chair. Okay, so we're going to do this very gingerly because of the wheels on the chair. We got to try it, though. We have to try. Marcia, do you love your neighbors?
Yes, I love my neighbor.
Okay, everybody else has got to move.
You didn't move.
They don't have to move. Okay. All right, Samantha, you get to ask someone.
Paris, do you love your neighbors? Oh, no. Well, what do you love? People with black shirts.
I guess.
Push that chair out of there. Turn that chair around. Bring that circle together here.
Marcia, do you love your neighbors?
No, I don't love my neighbors. I love the people who are wearing flip-flops. You wear flip-flops? Oh, my God.
Oh, were you?
That's right. She can't go back to the seat she was in before.
That was awesome.
You guys are honest. That was very honest. honest. Would seventh graders be that honest?
No.
Absolutely not.
Nick, do you love your neighbors?
Yes.
Yeah. You were a neighbor, you didn't have to.
She was.
So just tell us you love your neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah, she gets.
Paul, do you love your neighbors?
Yes.
You're back in the zone, dear.
I guess your name thing. Joe, do you love your neighbors?
So. No. I love people who have on gym shoes. I just eliminated myself.
You should have said it or something.
I know, but I thought,
So you had to.
yes, because I didn't have on
But
gym
she
shoes.
should have said with sandals, then you wouldn't have.
Well, and that's a conundrum for some kids. Do they put themselves, if they want to be in the middle? Some kids will say something to get themselves put in the middle. So I've seen that happen. That's the attention thing. It happens over and over. So that is really a fun game that kids love. If you've got 5 minutes left at the end with nothing to do, they love doing that. It's easy to do. It's easy to do. Another fun thing they love to do is musical chairs. Don't care how old they get, musical chairs is a great activity. And how many of you have played musical chairs? You guys have not?
Like in general?
Yeah, ever in your life.
Oh, I thought you meant.
I think I would
No, ever in your life. Yes. Okay, so you know you've got one less chair than you've got people, and you're marching around, and somebody gets to man the music. Somebody who might not want to move. Could be the teacher, but it could be somebody else. And then it's another game of elimination. So it's really, really, really lots of fun, lots of things to do. Some of you who have done a lot of this kind of stuff, what are the things you like to do in terms of team building or in terms of icebreakers? Anybody want to talk about something?
I teach an intervention class, so we don't have a lot of room, but a game that we like to play that is kind of builds in a little bit of practice also on whatever they're working on is that game I Have Who Has. Do you know that one? And you can, we do it with speed, like a competition, and say, you know, well, it took you guys 7 minutes to do it this time, and then they try to increase their speed, and they'll help each other get the answers, so it's a good way to practice for either a test or on vocabulary is really a good one.
So what is I have?
It says,
I don't have
I
that.
have as fast as a cat, and somebody will say, oh, and then you say, I have simile, who has as fast as a cat, or something like that. And there's a template you can, if you just type in, if you Google I have who has, there's a program that'll make the game for you.
Oh, that sounds neat.
So everybody has a card that has, somebody starts it out,
Mhm.
and then everybody gets a card, and you can plug in how many people you have in your group, and then what words or whatever you want to use. So it's kind of nice to have that. It's kind of like a Jeopardy game where you can do Jeopardy with teams too, but there's a program online. You can just
Good. That sounds great. Sounds great.
Yeah, we've used that in the math class to work out the
Math
equation, the answer to the equation. Another fun game we played in math is around the room where we have big cards, a deck of cards, and you flip them up and they have to multiply the two numbers, and whoever gets it first goes on to the next person, and then keep going and see how far they go. And the kids love that. And it's also practicing math against the math.
Well, even though I'm not a teacher or anything, like back in school, like when it was raining, even though like in junior high you don't have recess anymore. Like a really cool game. It's Heads Up, 7 Up. It's like we put it like okay, so it's just like I don't know, like it would be like 5 people up here. You all put your head down, and they all tap your head. When they tap your head, you got to put your hand up, but you have to guess who tapped you, and you're not allowed to look. And if you get them, you get to go up and go ahead and tap people. But if not, you just stay seated.
And they like that in middle school. I mean, that's like a real,
Mhm.
they love.
And it gets really intense really quickly.
They do.
Especially when it's your friend and you thought they tapped you, they didn't tap you. That breaks friendships. That breaks.
Causes wars.
Yes.
It can cause wars, and the idea then is if it causes a war, you got to process it and figure out how to put it back together, right? Yeah. You are going to have some conflicts from time to time, but again, it's about the process. It's about having fun. It's about talking with kids about how did that feel? What, so what, and what now? I think those are great questions to keep in mind anytime. So what? We did this activity. What about it? Anybody have any questions or comments about what we did? Hmm? You had fun. Okay, good. Good job. That was one of the activities. I know.
Well, I mean, of course I had fun. I'm the little kid of the group.
But see, I have fun doing it too. So grown-ups can have fun. And I can be really rough at musical chairs. I have been known to throw a few kids out of the chair.
Chairs and friendships. I'm competitive. And I love you. We've been best friends for 13 years. If it's the only chair, I will push you out of the chair. I will do anything I can to get you out of this chair. Oh my God, Channing Tatum is behind you. Where? Push.
And she is speaking very honestly. I've seen kids do some really tricky things. So
Now, will those activities be like, will you have directions for those?
I plan to. There are already on the Navient site. I've loaded a lot of lessons on that site, and there's one section just called Team Building Activities, and I'll be adding to that, and I'll add all of these onto that before August.
I want that right left.
You like the right left?
Yes, go right that one.
You can. I can get you a copy of that before you leave today if you want that.
There's a Christmas one. It's the night before Christmas, so we do it at our family.
And what do?
You pass around little boxes, some
No, I
are
was just gonna say, if you think of that, we could share.
That's for Christmas, it's family.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing, we pass things around, and it's the night before Christmas.
And anytime
And
you're
right
ready.
that, it's online, but if you need to do it at Christmas.
And actually, they have this right-left activity for every holiday. I think I've seen it for Halloween and Valentine's Day and lots of things.
This was just.
So, that's just a fun thing for kids to do too. They like pretending to be confused even when they're not sometimes. I've seen kids end up with 4 or 5 things in their hands, and they really are, confused, and especially some of the kids who might have some learning difficulties or whatever. And I'm certainly not trying to pick on them, but it might be a little harder for some of them. But it's also good exercise and good activity for them to listen and to learn to follow directions. Your ADH kids, they have a ball with all this stuff, but they'll be the ones who fall out of the chair or in the middle of the floor. You're walking over them, whatever. I always say they're kind of like worms. They're just everywhere, some of them. And I can say that because 2 of my children and 1 of my grandchildren are ADHD, so I'm an expert at that, right? But anyway, we've just got tons of things to help support you with community building and get you through this. I will post everything online, and if you have questions or anything you want to talk about, it's best to email me, but I'm happy to talk about whatever we need to talk about in terms of advisory, community building, team building, engagement, everything. So, thank you all very much.
Is it lunch?
I think it is. Is it